How's it going, everybody? Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer here. Wrestling Observer Radio, September 5, 2022. Figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. We're still here in Chicago tonight, and we've got an NXT show to talk about, Dave.
Yeah, you know what else we have to talk
Big
about?
Worlds Collide show today. What'd you think about it?
Yeah, Big Worlds Collide. And not only that...
yeah, there was other stuff going on.
Yeah, some other stuff happened too. But, you know, like, the show started with Larry the dog running to the ring. That is how the show actually started today.
Wow.
Oh, you didn't see that?
No, I didn't see that part.
Oh, it was talked about in the press conference when they asked about Larry.
Well, I mean, I saw the video of him showing up with Larry the dog.
No, Larry
I didn't see Larry running to the ring.
Well, he didn't get quite to the ring, but he came out the curtain and he was running down right before the show started. He had his leash on, and it was apropos for the dog went loose, and that was apropos for tonight. We always end up, the last time we were doing this together, we had a crazy weekend.
No, you know what happened the last time we did this? The last time we did this, there was a scrum afterwards that went about 6 hours.
Yes.
And we decided that we weren't going to go to the scrums anymore.
Yes.
And then you did the interview with Tony yesterday, and when the interview was over...
I told him I was going to go to the scrum.
You all of a sudden alerted us we were going to the scrum.
But only to say hi. We were only going to go
Well,
to say
yes.
hi and spend 5 minutes there. And then all hell broke loose.
All hell broke loose at the...
Thank God we went.
That's true.
We'd have heard, but it's better that we went for sure.
Well, we not only heard, but I became part of it because
You were part
Mr. Punk was angry at me today.
Yeah, that's part of it. And then and then also we're sitting there in this press room, and all of a sudden this police officer is sprinting.
Yes.
Okay, and I thought, there's a fight here, but I figured it was some drunks outside causing a disturbance. Little did I know what was actually going on at the time.
Well, should we start with the scrum?
We could start anywhere you want to start, sure. Okay.
Well, the scrum began, and
CM Punk was our first guest.
CM Punk was our first guest, is the new AEW champion. Beat John Moxley in the main event. It was a great main event.
Great match.
Incredible heat for the match.
Yep.
And he came in, and the very first thing he wanted to do was talk about Colt Cabana.
Scott
Colton.
Yeah. And he asked, was it Nick Hausman, I think? If he was friends with Scott, it was Nick Hausman, okay, who's, he just goes, are you friends with Scott Colton? And then, Nick was kind of beating around the bush and kind of said no. And he was looking for the thing. And then all of a sudden, he starts talking about, I haven't been friends with Scott Colton in 10 years. It's Colt Cabana, by the way. And then he starts with these lies that are being spread, and, which is, at that point, it's still okay. I know he doesn't like Colt Cabana. That's not a secret. Lies being spread. So I figured, and I kind of thought, knowing, that there was a chance that he would address this. So he addressed that. But then when he starts talking about these EVPs, I knew that we were in a lot of trouble. He starts talking about these EVPs who, whatever, what did he say? Don't know nothing about nothing? Or
Never
something?
done anything. It was hard to tell exactly who he was talking about, because clearly he was upset at
EVPs,
Nick, Matt, and Hangman.
Well, EVPs is
Well, EVPs would be Nick and Matt, but he was also upset at Hangman.
Well, he was very upset at Hangman.
And he was also mentioning people that had never done anything or been anywhere. And I was like, you can't possibly be talking about the Young Bucks, right?
But he was talking about Hangman.
That might have been Hangman he was talking about.
Okay, but here's
who has been places, but not as much as the Young Bucks. But anyway, he was very angry.
But here's the thing. It's okay. So again, now I'm getting off on a ridiculous tangent on here, but it's like, is there like a thing where if you have not been to WWE, you've never been anywhere? Because this is the biggest company aside from WWE in 20 years, and these guys have all done stuff. And before that, the biggest company other than WWE in the world was New Japan Pro Wrestling, and these people have done stuff there. So it's not like they've never done stuff, but that's a minor tangent in our big story.
So he continued on. He was very upset about the EVPs, and
he mentioned Reseda. So
he was for sure talking about the Young Bucks. And the only name that he mentioned of the EVPs, he did say Nick's name, unless he was talking about another Nick.
No,
but he for sure said Nick.
Okay.
So he was definitely upset at Nick and the EVPs and Hangman.
He was
and
Hangman's the only name he really mentioned, though. I mean,
Sure.
he went off on Hangman and Scott Colt and Colt Cabana. I mean, those were the two names that he mentioned the most.
Yep. And then he was angry at me because he said he watched a video and he was angry that I was incredulous that he had come out and did the promo on the Hangman, the unscripted promo on the Hangman.
I was incredulous.
And yeah, that's the point. I was like, and I explained to him, I said, listen, when I told that story, I said that what you did made a lot of people in the locker room very upset, but I also noted that there were people that stuck up for you because they said that you were defending yourself from what Hangman had done, like it was Hangman started it.
Yeah. I mean,
I did tell both sides of the story, and of course I was incredulous. The guy came out on television, and he did an unscripted promo and made a babyface look like a fool. Of course I'm incredulous about that, but I did give both sides. There was a side that believed that he was in the right because Hangman had done it first.
Yes. Months ago, which we'd all forgotten about, but he hadn't forgotten about. And he was, well, I mean, his thing, because and, you know, I kind of know his side of the story from this point, in the sense that he felt this is the Vegas show, on the interview that people know about and everything like that, that he somehow felt that he was the first $1 million gate in company history in Vegas, that he was, I don't know if it's what's the term, he was risking the million. I mean, the gate was already in, but I think he felt that, like, we were building this big show, and, you know, it's our first $1 million gate, and he was doing this, whatever it was, which was the part of the promo, you know, that he was upset about months ago. And then he got hurt and hasn't been around, and this was when he returned, it was his receipt, and that led to this. So tell us what happened tonight, besides that.
Well, apparently there was an altercation after the press conference. And
during the press conference?
Well, it was after he left the press conference.
Yeah, he left, and then he must have been really, really mad.
He was obviously very mad.
Yes.
And, you know, we had multiple sources state that there was an altercation, and I wasn't there. I don't know everything that happened, but many people said that there was an altercation with Punk and the Young Bucks. I don't know who else was there, but it happened, and everybody knew about it, and a security guard did in fact go running out of the press conference. So, you know, I would presume that there were people that did the press conference that knew that this had happened, but Tony Khan did not know that it happened because Tony Khan did not have his phone, and nobody told him until after. Who was the last? Was Jericho the end?
Jericho was the last one before Tony, and Tony did.
Okay, so Jericho was the last one. Then Tony went for 20 minutes, and then somebody came and whispered in his ear.
Was that Raphael?
I don't know who
Raphael
it was.
Morphy, right? Yeah.
Somebody came and whispered in his ear, and
so was that right after it ended? When Raphael said that?
I think it was right after Tony finished wrapping up.
Okay.
Someone whispered in his ear, and off
Raphael
he went. And I don't know what happened then. I don't know what's going to happen now. We're recording this at 1:41 a.m., and I was told everybody was still at the building, so I don't know what's going on. But it was a bad situation, and everybody was talking about it, and I think that obviously Tony has to figure out what he's going to do, because
there was a melee.
Whatever. A melee, you say?
Whatever that word means, yes.
Well, melee is probably not a good thing.
It's not a good thing. Look, Tony's in a real tough situation, obviously, which we've talked about for weeks, that this was boiling over. You know, I mean, this thing was boiling over ever since the promo that Punk made. You know, that's really what set everything off, I guess. And then since then, it's just been, you know, he had to take control. And he did call the meeting, and it didn't quell anything. It did not address the Punk thing, but did address it in Forbes and said that Punk had nothing to do with Colt Cabana being in Ring of And he brought that up again today. And So,
And he was asked at the press conference. I mean, after Punk was gone, but before Tony knew anything that had happened, somebody did ask, Punk just went off.
I was going to ask something, but that they didn't get to me.
Yeah, he said Punk went off on your EVPs, and how are you going to deal with a situation like this? And Tony's response, and this was only regarding what Punk had said at the press conference. This had nothing to do with anything afterwards. He didn't know yet. He mentioned that they're all great wrestlers, and they all
help build the guys who tried to help build the company.
So it sounded. I don't know what he was going to do, but it sounded from the way he was talking like, well, I'm not going to fire anybody or anything, but I'm going to try to make it all work so they can all remain here.
Okay, well, of course that's what he wants, but the thing is Tony in that situation is in front of us until he sorts everything out, is not going to say anything about anybody in like that situation. I mean, that was the only response he was going to give.
It's interesting that he gave that response because there were other questions that were asked where he just didn't give a response.
Well, but he didn't really. It's just sort of he's prepared because he knows these questions are asked because he knows about the turmoil and everyone knows about the turmoil. And, his basic response on that is that, stuff happens and sometimes we can do business with it. He was the whole thing, whether it's Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, which actually when I talked to him last night, and I don't know if it was on the air or off the air, but we talked a lot about Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, and we were going through the 1997 buy rates, how, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels outdrew WrestleMania that year. And so it was kind of like, the idea of we can use this stuff and do matches and it will have more realism and that could be really good. And I think it's maybe past that point right now, but I think from that was one of the things that it's like, it's not a bad thing that this stuff has gotten out in the sense of, they could do Punk and Adam Page, but I wonder, at this point, if those guys would even work with each other, which is another issue, to do a match, but who knows? I mean, I know people who have been really, really furious at each other and they're totally professional when they wrestle each other. That's not unusual either.
So that was the post-show drama, and man, I guess we'll find out.
We'll hear a
lot more tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's going to be, Tony. He's gonna. I don't know how he's going to sort this one out because I
would say this is his biggest challenge.
Oh.
By miles.
Well, I think it's been for a couple of weeks. But he wants to keep all the talent. He doesn't want to lose talent. And right now, he may be in a position, or unless he's got some really good sleight of hand to get everybody back together. But he may be in a position where, he's going to lose key people if this is not resolved quickly. Because I think that. One side or the other or both, are going to really, it's going to be a really tough situation for them to work with each other right now. Punk, what he said. And obviously, when he said it the way he did, I thought that it was, I'm watching Punk saying this, and I'm thinking that he is going to make... he's going to put pressure that he wants those guys, whatever, and the problem is that it's a problem. It's a
bit. I talked to a lot of people tonight that are there, and I heard sad, embarrassed, things like that. There are a lot of people there that have been there for a long time, and when this thing first started, there was very much a feeling of, we're starting this thing. It's a family thing. We're all friends, family, and it does not feel like that at this point. The way that things turned out tonight, and there are people very, very upset about it.
It can't. And it's funny because when I made the term about the all friend, when it was all friends wrestling, like that joke, it's like it was a really great locker room, and it was all friends wrestling was a good thing. It wasn't a bad thing, because when it became this, now we're going to have to wait and see. But there was an explosion. There was an explosion tonight right in front of us, and then another explosion right down the hall from us.
Yep. So. Well, we also watched a show, which was a pretty damn great show. And we could talk about the show. If there's anything more we hear tonight, we'll let you know about it. Otherwise, obviously, tomorrow night we'll be here after Raw, which, my God, it's going to be a long day tomorrow.
Tomorrow's going to be it's going to be an interesting day. There's going to be a lot coming out, and I can see some ultimatums happening right now. I really can, and I don't know how. I mean, here's the other thing too is CM Punk's the world champion, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega are the trios champions, and that's very interesting dynamic as well. And Omega is key guy with the video game, which is a very important thing, which Tony even mentioned at the call. So, they could. I mean, the optimum thing is to turn this all into an angle, but to
turn it all into an angle, you have to have everybody on the same page.
Oh yeah.
And we're probably in a situation now where people aren't really going to want to work with each other.
I know.
I mean, I think it was pretty clear from Punk's promo before everything else went down that he had no desire to work with Hangman.
No,
and that was before all of this happened. So,
well, I mean, the other thing too is him. He was basically. I mean, he called MJF a prick. And there was a dual meaning in that one. I felt
it was weird because he buried the EVPs, he buried Hangman, and he did bury MJF. But I kind of presume that had to be storyline because MJF did return. He is challenging Punk. His gimmick is that he's a prick. But he did lump it in with the other guys that he really didn't like.
He did lump it in, and the other one too.
And he also buried him in a way you don't normally bury him. And he sort of was like, it wasn't like a typical pro wrestling burial, but kind of like, young guys think they know more than they do.
Well, see, that was the point I was going to make. Is he ran down, he has been to a lot of places and he has more experience in different situations than most of the guys, not Jericho, but most of the guys in the dressing room. And I think that there's a feeling from him that a lot of these guys, his things, I'm trying to draw business. I'm trying to do, like what he, believes. I'm trying to draw money. I'm trying to draw business. And maybe the feeling that so many of these guys don't know how to do it, and he's trying to tell them. And one of the things that he did bring up is that they didn't want to listen to him. Remember when he talked about what was the analogy that he made? He brought up some
Babe Ruth, Mark McGuire. We have an all-star team, and you don't want advice on your swing.
Yeah. I mean, he was basically, there was a rundown of people that it sounded like he was trying to talk to and explain, like, this is how you can draw money and things like that. And maybe they were not as receptive to him, and he was very frustrated by that, and that was another aspect of, and he didn't mention any names. So when you're not mentioning names, he's not like cutting a promo. I think he was talking about, he had some very strong dissatisfaction with the company or with players in the company. He loved the company. He made that clear. He absolutely loved the company. It was a great thing. And he, it's a great place that people have an alternative. He was very strong on that. But you could tell that, and it's not just 2 or 3 guys. It felt like he was very frustrated with a lot of young guys. But and again, like, that's not a worked promo because he mentioned no names other than Paige, but that wasn't specific to just Paige. And even necessarily Paige, as far as like thinking, I don't, so it was crazy.
Hey, if you're a big fan of Wrestling Observer Radio, we got 12,000 episodes of all of our podcasts up at our website, WrestlingObserver.com. If you sign up today, you get access to every single one of them. The 12 to 18 new shows that we do every single week. You can podcast them, listen to them on the road, at work, working out, in the shower, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And also full access to the Wrestling Observer newsletter and archives. So if you love what you hear, head to WrestlingObserver.com. 12,000 audio shows at your fingertips.